Kakadosh Boker Or Bekiim Halacha 6. This is day 10, page 28. Okay, we're still in the introduction to the Berachot. We're on Halacha Yudalid. So this is page 28 if you have the books over there. And it says as follows. Asher Chelko. Thank you. Right? Fortunate is a person who's always going to concentrate, to be careful, concentrate on the meaning of Hashem's name whenever he mentions it. He says, why? Because he'll be certainly be amply rewarded, meaning he's going to be rewarded, right, for what he's doing. But there's also going to be a side benefit as well. What's a side benefit? That it's such a person, he will always remember whether he made the bracha or not. Why? Because since he's concentrating properly when he says a bracha, so remember he says it, meaning like this, if a person just comes and shoots out brachot, so he has a doubt that I say the bracha, not say bracha. He wasn't paying attention. He was in the middle of doing something. Yeah, he said the bracha. No, that's it. He says here, he remembers that he's saying a bracha because he pays attention to every single bracha. So if he's paying attention, so he's going to remember whether he said it or he didn't say it. Halakha Tetvav says, yeah, it's fitting for a Baal Nefesh to come and to pay attention properly, to make the brachot, deliberately, right? Now, from the brachot of a human being, you already know what is the human being. If he's going to be a Tamil Chacham Yireh Shamayim, or he's just Stam Sachal Bavodato. Why? Because you already know, according to that's about down in the Seder Yom, which means that according to the brachot of a human being, you already know who he is. Right? So basically, give a person to make a bracha in front of you, and then you know who the person is. Okay? Pirusha bracha. Let's start speaking about the translation of the bracha. Baruch. Okay? So he comes and he says like this. The term Baruch does not mean that Hashem is actually blessed by man. Because when you say Baruch Atah Hashem, it's clearly you're saying you are blessed, right? That's what you're saying. You are blessed. Hashem it says it's not like that. Baruch eno lashon paul ela kemo rachum v'chanun, which means that he himself is the mekor of the berachot. When you say somebody is Kadosh Baruch Hu is rachum, you're not giving mercy to Hashem. You're saying Hashem is the all-merciful one. That Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is the source, the mekor of rachmanut. So the same thing when you're saying Baruch. Baruch, you are the source of all the blessings, right? And you're not accepting it from other people. Look at the footnote number 12. He says the term Baruch is similar to the word Rachum and Chanun, right? Those terms mean that Hashem is a source of mercy and compassion, but not that He is merciful, right? Hashem has no character traits. In the same way, the term Baruch means that He's the source of blessings, right? Look at the Rabbi David Ham and the Kadar Kemach also, and the Sidur of the Ya'avetz, right? The Yaakov Emni, okay? Bet Yaakov. The Nefesh HaChaim offers an alternative explanation, right? Interpretation. He says of the term Baruch and our blessings to Hashem, he pointed out that the word Beracha is related to the word Berecha. What's a Berecha? Right? Which is a pool. A pool, just as water from underground spring constantly feeds more and more water to a natural pool, the term Beracha means to increase or growth. So Hashem wants us to make Berachot, to plead with Him, to increase His beneficial influences from their source down through all the worlds to our world, which means He wants us to draw forth that beracha. How do we do that? We make a beracha. By making a beracha, we are increasing. Beracha here means it's an increasement. When a person comes and he says, Rabbi, I want beracha. What do you want beracha? You want to make a beracha? No, it means, beracha means I want an abundance. I want more, an increase. So he comes and he says, right, when the world receives the bounty through our prayers, right, our nation becomes a prime recipient of the bounty. For this reason, Chachamim taught us that whoever makes a bracha, right, if you eat without a bracha, you're a thief. Why are you a thief? Because you're stealing from Knesset Israel this bracha that we were the first ones that were supposed to receive it. Meaning the Jews are the first ones that were supposed to receive all the brachot. And the person that makes the bracha, he's the first one out of them that's supposed to receive that as well. So by failing to do so, you're denying that. So his failure affects the entire Bnei Israel. Okay? Fine. Now he says like this. Yud Zayin. Right? Kishomrim Baruch Atah lenochach. When you're going to say Baruch Atah, which is nochach, meaning you're praying to Hashem directly. You're saying Baruch Atah. You're calling Hashem Atah, you. So he says, Yesh lachaven bo ki hu yitbarach nigla mitzad pe'ulotav, right? Which means that what we're supposed to have in mind is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself through his actions. U'shechozrim medabrim anistar. But now, one second, we stop speaking benochach, right? But the rest of it, because now we say Hashem mitzvah tzivanu. So now what's happening now? So yesh lachaven bo ki hu yitbarach, right? Nistar v'ne'elam min hasaga. So now what we're having is now you're switching from first person to third person. So what are you saying now? You're saying that while saying these words, a person should think, right, that Hashem's essence is far beyond our conception, which means we cannot even understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And for that reason, we don't continue blessing, right, addressing him in second person. So you only start Baruch Atah, right, which is Nochach, which is you're speaking first person to Hashem, and then you go Lashon Nistar. And in that Lashon Nistar, that's when we're saying that we don't even understand anything of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, Yudchet, Hashem Elokenu. What's the kavanah? Okay, we already explained above in Halacha Yud Bet, because obviously in Halacha Yud Bet, there we already explained what are you supposed to do when you have in mind, when you say the Yud Kevavke, or when you have Elokenu, whether it's going to be Yavo Veviyeh, right, Adon HaKol, and whether it's going to be Elokenu, which is, Takif Elecholo Kulam. Right, when you say what?
Elohim is Takif.
Or Elokenu also, same thing. Yeah, Elokenu, Elokim, זה אותו דבר, סלם שוס. Yeah, אותו דבר. Okay, so therefore, when we're saying Baruch Atah Hashem Elokenu, the Elokenu is the same thing as Elokim, so it's the same mindset, right? And when you're saying the Hashem, that's when you're supposed to have the Adon HaKol, Hayah V'yeh. Okay, last halacha, Yutet, Melech HaOlam. So every beracha, whether it's Birkat HaNe'anin or Birkat HaMitzvot, that do not have Shem U'Malchut is not a beracha. So this is not actually brought down here in these berachot. It's brought down Kuf Tetvav later on, right? But basically, you always need Shem U'Malchut. Shem is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem Elokenu, and you always need Malchut. What is Malchut? Melech HaOlam. There are going to be a few exceptions to the rules when it's going to be Bracha Smucha L'Chaverta or certain things like that, that many times you will not have the full, right, Shem Malchut, because it is one after another. So therefore, since it's one after another, you won't have, right, the entire thing again, as if to say, okay? So he says, look in the footnote, it says over here, every bracha is going to have, and if it is not, if you skipped it out, it's Yachzor V'Yivarech, you have to make a bracha again, and it's going to be brought down in Resh Yud. So he comes and he says like this, he says, every bracha, whether it was one recited for taking physical pleasures or one recited before performing a mitzvah, must include the term Melech HaOlam, right? So he says, without this, it's not a bracha. So he comes and he says like this, Siftei Chaim. The Siftei Chaim address the concept of including this declaration in our blessings. Once we have declared that Hashem is the source of all blessings, we have to say that He's the King of the universe, to emphasize that there's no other power other than Him. Meaning, we just said that Hashem is Baruch. What is Baruch? We're not blessing Him. He's the Mekor of the Berachot. He is the source of all Berachot, or Berecha, which means we're asking for an abundance of that Beracha. We're asking for abundance of what Hashem is going to give into this world. Now he comes and he says, so immediately after saying this Baruch, so we're going to have to say that He's the only God. How do you do that? You have to say Elokeinu melech haolam. So he says, if Zoto Beracha explained that by declaring that Hashem is a king, we're saying that He's the focal point of everything that exists. Every single item in this world is an expression of the honor of Hashem. And therefore, that's why we have to mention it. Because right now we have, whether it's going to be a cracker, whether we have a drink, whatever it is we're doing, we're explaining that since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the God, so everything is surrounding around HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What about when you have a series of blessings? So that's what I told you about, when you have one bracha after another. So the rule is that a blessing is valid only when it includes the declaration of Hashem, is waived when there's a series of blessings. Why? In that case, once the first blessing contains this declaration, right, it's not necessary for the subsequent blessings, right, to repeat it. So for example, we're talking about now before and after Kriyat Shema. How does it start? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu Cholam Yotzer Or. There we do have Shem U'Malchut. How does it finish? Baruch atah Hashem Yotzer Meorot. What's the next one? Avat Olam. It doesn't even start with the bracha. But then how does it finish? Baruch atah Hashem Habochem U'Yisrael Ba'ava. It does not have Shem U'Malchut. Right? It will still have Hashem, but it does not have Malchut. It doesn't say Elokeinu melech haolam. So therefore, when we're going to come and say, oh, 1 second, but Rabbi, you just told me that it doesn't have Shem Malchut. The answer is when you're going to have a series of blessings. Now these are all long blessings, right? But remember, short blessings will always have it. That's why the Birkot HaShachar, even though it's one after another, they all have, right, everything. Yeah, Baruch atah Hashem. Why? Because they're short. Any short blessings, one after another, will always have the Shem Malchut. However, when they're long blessings, we skip out. Because once it's a subsequent one after another, we don't need to do it again. Okay? The Amidah.
How we do when we do the Sheva Minim, and then we say...
So the footnote now comes and speaks about the Amidah. Why? The weekday Amidah has 19 brachot, and Shabbat and Yom Tov you have 7 brachot, right? Okay. So now the question is, why is it that Melech HaOlam, right, does not appear in Amidah? You started Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Sorry, You started Baruch Atah Hashem, right? Elokeinu v'Avotenu, right? You don't even have Melech HaOlam there. So where is it in the Amidah? You don't have it at all. So there's going to be a few different answers. Why is there no Melech HaOlam in Amidah? Think about it. You started Amidah, right? You started Hashem Tzvatat Yudayah, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu. But you do not say Melech HaOlam. Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor. But you don't say Melech HaOlam. And then you continue. And each time, right? Baruch Atah Hashem, Choden Adar. Baruch Atah Hashem. What's going on? There's no Melech HaOlam at all. So at least if you're going to tell me at the beginning you had Melech HaOlam, so okay, fine. So then you could say that they're considered small berachot, even though blinded, some of them are a little bit long, especially Barech Aleinu during the winter. But fine, you could say it. But here you don't say Melech HaOlam at all. So he says like this. First of all, there's going to be a Tosafot. The Tosafot says when we say Elokei Avraham, that is saying that it's Melech HaOlam. Because since Avraham Avinu was the first one that came and taught the people of the world that he's the God of the world, so Elokei Avraham is ki'ilu, you're saying Melech HaOlam. That's the first answer, which is given by Tosafot. Now, if you already started with Melech HaOlam, so then it makes sense that it's going to be one bracha after another, right? They're all connected, right? They're all relatively short. Let's pretend it's that way, right? And therefore, it's one after another. Fine. There is going to be a Rosh. The Rosh and the Tur, they suggested that when you say Ha'ela Gadol, that is meaning that, not Elokei Avraham. But Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak just means God of Abraham and God of Yitzchak, God of Yaakov. It doesn't say anything else. But when you say Ha'ela Gadol, that is Melech HaOlam. Right? That's the Rosh and the Tur. The Ritva. The Ritva suggested that the word Melech, right, which is situated near the end of the first beracha, when we say Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. So when we said Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, that was the declaration that he's Melech HaOlam. Because we just said Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. Okay, that was the Ritva, right, the other Rishon. The Rokeach, he stated that the rule requiring that Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come, whether it's going to be for all different types of blessings, is only going to be for thanksgiving, for pleasure, or for a mitzvah. So, for example, Birkat Ne'enin or Birkat Mitzvot. Those are the two that you have to have, Shem u'Malchut. He says, however, though, right, when we're talking with Amidah, you don't need it, right? These are blessings we said in order to plead with Hashem to provide us our needs, and therefore you don't need to say Melech HaOlam. Meaning, when do you have to say Melech HaOlam? I want to benefit from this. I'm not really asking him for anything, right? I'm just coming, and I want to benefit. So you want to benefit? Bless Hashem. Who's Hashem? The creator of the world, the king of the world. Chazak Baruch. Make a bracha. Or I have the opportunity to make a mitzvah. If the entire purpose is I'm asking for Hashem for chokhmah, I'm asking him for geula, for teshuvah, for parnasah, I'm asking him. I have to say that he's the king of the world. So who are you asking, Ribono Shel Olam? Obviously, you're asking from the king of the world. So according to the Rokeach, he says that's the difference between Amidah and all the other brachot. Birkat mitzvot, birkat ne'enin, you're obligated to come into him, say, Elokeinu melech haolam, Shem malchut. Why? Because you want to benefit from this world, or you want to partake in a mitzvah. You have the zechut of doing a mitzvah. When you're asking him for something, you don't need to say that you're the king, right? I'm going to the king, and I'm coming, please, your highness. I don't have to say that you're the king of the world. You already know that. Who are you asking? You're asking me. So therefore, you don't have to say. That's the Rokeach, right? The Aviezri, right? He's cited by Rabbeinu Shemaya. He comes and he says like this. He says that the Amidah does not require it. He says is because the nature of the Amidah is a plea for Hashem's mercy, and therefore the king said, right? The term king suggests justice without mercy, right? As it says, a king upholds the land with justice, right? Tzaddik Rabbi Mishpat Yamod Yamid Eretz. What does that mean? The concept of a king is the exact opposite of mercy. And what is the purpose of Amidah? Amidah is tacharonim. So therefore he says, so it's not apropos to mention it. According to the Rokeach, the pshat of the Rokeach was, listen, really be'emet, it doesn't make sense to ask for it because the fact that you're asking him for all these things, it means that he's the king of the world. That's it, right? It's status quo. Here it's exact opposite. Here it's saying it's a tarta de satre. Why is it a tarta de satre? What am I trying to do in Amidah? Amidah is always tacharonim, right? It's always, I'm asking for mercy, right? But Rachame, Amidah is always called Rachamim. You know, there's a famous Chazon Ish, right? That he's the one that holds, right, against this entire thing. That's why if you go to Lederman in Bnei Brak and everything, they don't do Amidah exactly on the second, right? First of all, this entire thing of doing it exactly on the second is a new thing, because to have a stopwatch that is exactly in the moment of the nets, right, of the of the Vatikin is almost impossible. You can't do it in the. So we already know. The Chaim already says in Dindu Mechama, you've got a minute, 2 minutes easily, 100%. They're bechavana, right? They don't look at the clock. What does that mean? They look at the clock more or less. I'm saying it's not they're going to do it an hour before an hour, but the kavanah is why you're supposed to make tfilatecha lo keva, but rather tachanunim. He says if you're going to be half a minute before, half a minute afterwards, right? It's tachanunim. You're asking for mercy from Hashem. So he comes and he says like this. He says the entire purpose of Shem umalchut is midat adin. Elokenu melech haolam was Elokenu. Elokenu is justice. So what are you doing now in Amidah? You're asking for mercy. So for you, you're not supposed to say melech haolam in Amidah. But Amidah is the exact opposite of what it is melech haolam. That's why you're not supposed to mention melech haolam. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers. Sorry. What do we do with melech haolam in the Amidah? The last one we're going to mention is Elokai Neshama. So it says like this: the bracha Elokai Neshama in the morning, right, does not start with a baruch. What happens? What? Mechaberim to what? That's the question. Yeah. So he says it does not contain any reference to Hashem being king. So some authorities explain that it is not necessary since the blessing is in the set of a series because it's right after Asher Yatzar. But they said it's not true because many times Maran himself actually wrote it's not necessary to recite the words Melech HaOlam. He says why? Since the blessing states that Hashem is the creator of all souls. There it's a little bit different. Because remember, many times you wake up in the morning, you do Al Netilat Yadayim, and you went to the washroom, you say Asher Yatzar. Right? A lot of people, they will come and they will say Lokai Neshama separately. So it's not because it's in an order. So then why don't you say Melech HaOlam then? He comes and he says, because you're already saying that is you are Elokei Kol Neshamot. If you are saying you're the God of all the Neshamot, he comes and he says, and he takes them away and he resurrects them. So therefore you're saying that he's the king of the world. So therefore that's why you don't have to mention the name of Kadosh Baruch Hu, that he's going to be the king of the world in Elokai Neshamot.